Good evening, this is TVS Nightline. We begin with this story. Indonesian authorities arrested a 22-year-old Malaysian man for allegedly attempting to smuggle nearly 1 kilogram of methamphetamine and more than 1,000 ecstasy pills using the body wrap method at Juanda International Airport in Surabaya, East Java. The suspect was detained shortly after arriving at Terminal 2 on a flight from Kuala Lumpur, following an inspection by Indonesian authorities. Juanda Naval Air Base Commander Colonel Hanot Nasarius Virzawan says the arrest follows intelligence received from Juanda Customs regarding a passenger suspected of carrying illegal drugs.
Berhasil melakukan penggagalan upaya penyelundupan narkotika melalui penumpang warga negara asing di Bandara Internasional Juanda. Keberhasilan ini berawal dari kecurigaan petugas lapangan Bea dan Cukai Juanda serta analisa Satgas PAM TNI Angkatan Laut 16 Juanda yang mana dimulai pada hari Rabu tanggal 29 Juli 2026. Orang dan barang bukti berhasil diamankan berupa narkotika.
After the aircraft landed at around 11:16 a.m. local time, police inspection found 4 packages of methamphetamine and 4 packages of ecstasy pills concealed under a body wrap secured around the suspect's torso. Authorities estimate that the seized drugs are worth approximately 658,000 ringgit and say the operation potentially prevented about 6,584 people from falling victim to drug abuse. The suspect and all seized items were handed over to Sidoarjo District Police for further investigation and legal action. Indonesian authorities assure they will continue to tighten security at the country's entry points and strengthen interagency cooperation to combat drug smuggling through air routes.
In another similar case, the drugs smuggled into Indonesia by a pilot from a local airline were believed to have been collected from an apartment in Ampang, Selangor. Bukit Aman Narcotics Crime Investigation Department Director Dr. Hussein Amar Khan says initial probes reveal that the consignment may have originated from the residential unit.
He says police are also broadening their investigation into multiple areas, including security protocols at airport entry points.
Okay, dan kita dapat detect dia ambil perkara ini di satu kawasan di apartmen di Ampang. Okay, dan kita pun dah dapat nombor telefon yang dihubungi dan sebagainya. Okay, itu dalam tindakan pihak polis. Kedua, dari aspek bagaimana dia boleh melepasi saringan keselamatan di pintu keluar negara.
At a press conference at Selangor Police HQ today, Hussein said the suspect checked the illicit baggage in KLIA Terminal 1 that morning, abandoned it and flew to Kota Kinabalu, Sabah. He then backtracked to Kuala Lumpur, retrieved the luggage and boarded a flight to Jakarta. Hussein also confirmed police have identified a KLIA employee suspected of involvement in the operation. Malaysian investigators are now waiting on a green light from Indonesian police to send a team abroad for questioning. This follows early reports of a 39-year-old pilot intercepted at Jakarta's Soekarno-Hatta Terminal 3 while attempting to smuggle 25 kilograms of drugs. 15 packages holding over 70,000 ecstasy capsules alongside meth were seized by Indonesian authorities, a haul valued at roughly 45 million ringgit on the local black market.
Meanwhile, police operations at KLIA recorded a 6-fold increase in drug seizures this year, reaching 1.3 tons compared with 2025. Bukit Aman Narcotics Criminal Investigation Department Director Dr. Hussein Omar Khan says the seizures are valued at over 108 million ringgit, compared with 235 kilograms, worth over 18 million ringgit last year.
For the same period, police recorded 108 cases, compared with 54 previously, while arrests rose to 121 people from 57, with 42 of those arrested being foreign nationals. Growing demand for cannabis flowers in Europe, he adds, is believed to be one of the main factors driving the surge in drug smuggling through the country's main international gateway.
KLIA menjadi pilihan kepada sindiket-sindiket ini untuk bawa keluar dan daripada Malaysia ke negara di Eropah. Berlandaskan jumlah tangkapan dan juga rampasan, saya boleh katakan memang KLIA menjadi hub untuk membawa keluar terutama dadah jenis bunga ganjal.
In the latest operation on July 29th, police raided 2 locations in Ijo and Petaling Jaya, Selangor, seizing 409.4 kilograms of drugs worth an estimated 20.74 million ringgit. He adds that Ops Khas KLIA also seized 260.08 kilograms of cannabis flowers and 100.01 kilograms of cocaine. Currently, all suspects remain under remand to assist investigations under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act, 1952.
A 35-year-old contractor in Sarawak has been sentenced to a total of 35 years in prison and 24 strokes of the cane for sexually assaulting and threatening his 10-year-old stepdaughter. The accused pleaded guilty to charges of gross indecency, physical sexual assault and criminal intimidation across separate proceedings at the Kuching Sessions and Magistrates Court.
Sessions Court Judge Musti Abdul Hamid sentenced the man to 29 years in jail and 20 strokes of the cane under the Penal Code and the Sexual Offences Against Children Act of 2017. He was ordered to serve an additional 4 years imprisonment and 4 strokes under Section 16 of the same Act due to his trusted relationship with the victim. In a separate proceeding, Magistrate Ling Hui Chuan sentenced the contractor to a further 24 months jail for criminal intimidation. The offences occurred at a village house along Jalan Bako on May 29 when the accused entered a bathroom with a broken doorknob where the girl was bathing. Police investigations revealed the accused planned the attack while his wife was away and threatened to beat the victim if she reported the incident. The matter came to light after the victim confided in classmates, prompting her teacher and mother to lodge a police report, leading to his arrest on July 28. Upon release, the man will undergo rehabilitative counselling and remain under police supervision for 2 years.
Now, Sarawak is leveraging its culinary heritage to drive economic growth for 30 ethnic communities while addressing rising cholesterol and obesity concerns. Premier Datuk Petinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tunopeng says gastronomy supports an ecosystem of farmers and local producers, but warns food culture must align with nutritional health.
Food represents our identity, represent our heritage, represent our creativity and our collective future. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarawak offers a gastronomic experience unlike any other. Our state is home to more than 30 ethnic communities, each possessing unique culinary traditions that have evolved over centuries. Every recipe tells a story. Every ingredient reflects the environment from which it comes.
Speaking at the 3rd UNESCO Cities of Gastronomy annual meeting today, Abang Johari noted this sector directly supports local hawkers, producers and hoteliers. The gathering marks the first time Sarawak has hosted the event, attracting 200 delegates from 26 cities worldwide following Kuching's UNESCO designation in 2021. However, health screenings under the Sarawak Ku's Sayang program revealed high cholesterol cases in Kapit and elevated obesity rates in Cebu. Pointing to starch-heavy diets as a likely factor, the Premier calls for specialized studies and dietary expertise to nutritionally balance traditional dishes. The state therefore plans to deploy more dietitians to advise on healthier preparation methods without compromising traditional tastes.
Hanya saya cadangkan, kadang-kadang kita asyik tahu property dalam makanan kita, dieting important. itu, we need a lot of professional dietitian. So that barang yang kita saji adalah balance.
At the same event, Premier Dato' Patinggi Dan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg was treated to a double birthday surprise as he marked his 76th birthday. Officials, guests and members of the media celebrated the Premier with a staged cake-cutting ceremony and special presentations before he addressed the press. The first surprise took place on stage at Riverside Majestic Hotel immediately following the official launch of the international gathering. Members of the media later serenaded the Premier with a birthday song before a doorstep interview where photojournalist Zulazar Shibli presented him with a framed photograph of him riding a motorcycle across the Batang Lupar Bridge. Abang Johari expressed his gratitude to the media and highlighted the importance of maintaining good health at his age. The Premier remarks that remaining healthy at 76 allow him to continue enjoying life while advocating for better community healthcare across Sarawak.
Now, Sarawak is demanding a December deadline to resolve all outstanding claims under the MA63. Deputy Premier Dr. Ahmad Douglas Uga Mbas insists the timeline is non-negotiable after negotiations stalled for nearly a decade.
Uga put forward this deadline during the MTP MA63 Technical Committee meeting in Putrajaya, chaired by Sabah and Sarawak Affairs Minister Datuk Mustafa Sakmud. The Sarawak delegation highlighted key items in the agenda, including increasing state public service posts, the Borneoization of federal services, health and education devolution, and border development. Secretariat data shows 13 MA63 matters have been resolved, 5 resolved on an interim basis, and 9 remain pending policy decisions or high-level review. Leading the state delegation, Uga pressed for immediate expedition of unsettled issues. Mustafa directed all federal ministries to cooperate in expediting implementation, with Sarawak reaffirming its commitment to collaborate with Sabah and Putrajaya.
Malaysia targets a cumulative economic impact of 35 billion ringgit through the hosting of business events by 2030. Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Datuk Sri Tiong King Sing says this aim is supported by the successful bidding of international business events and the implementation of strategic initiatives to strengthen Malaysia's position as a regional business events hub.
As of the 30th June 2026, MySec had already locked up in 416 business events from 2026 to 2030, with a projected estimated economic impact EEI of RM8.27 billion. Together with ongoing and continued strategic initiative, we have set to drive economic impact again of RM34.97 billion by 2030.
Tiong says business events now serve as an important platform that connects global communities, attracts investment, drives innovation, and creates opportunities for businesses and local communities. He notes that the government continues to work closely with industry players through MySAP, focusing on innovation, sustainability, digital transformation, and talent development to ensure Malaysia remains competitive. Meanwhile, MUTAC Secretary General Datuk Shaharuddin Abu Sohot says the ministry is stepping up efforts to attract more international business events affected by the conflicts in West Asia to relocate to Malaysia.
Kita pun nak menggalakkan event ataupun convention, seminar luar negara diadakan di negara kita. Tapi yang kita tahu sekarang ni ada sedikit masalah di negara Arab tu, jadi kita galakkan program-program yang di sana tu dipindahkan ke Malaysia. Yang kita memang sedang usahakanlah untuk tarik lebih banyak program-program terutamanya yang melibatkan isu di Timur Tengah tu supaya diadakan di Malaysia.
He says the move is expected to generate economic spillover across various sectors, including hospitality, transportation, food and beverage, and tourism attractions.
Major updates today on the happenings in West Asia. The Strait of Hormuz will open soon, according to accounts from Iran and Oman. And Lebanon will be holding direct talks with Israel for the 7th time, while their people are actively being killed. But first, President Donald Trump decides it is a good idea to tell the world that he will decapitate Iran if they refuse to return to the negotiating table. More on that with Yusuf.
Thank you, Handy. The latest talks Trump claimed to be ongoing following requests from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE may be true, but as he claims, it was by the request of Iran as well, which they have strongly denied. The negotiation will have two phases. Phase 1 involves the full reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which he says would happen as soon as tomorrow. The other phase would involve the denuclearizing of Iran. If Iran refused to be part of this talk, Trump promises large-scale destruction.
I want to give him every last chance before decapitation. Very tough to do what we have planned, still planned. We'll see what happens. But it's a very, very tough thing to do. I think I'm very proud of the fact that I'll give people a chance. This is a big move. To do an attack that big on a country, I'd rather not do it. Now, we've already, through lots of large attacks, but they were normal large. Hopefully they'll come to their senses, because what happened cannot have a nuclear weapon, but hopefully they'll come to their senses.
Iran and Oman are close to reaching an agreement to restore commercial maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. The New York Times reported Monday, citing Iranian and U.S. officials. Under the potential deal, the report says vessels entering the Gulf would travel through a shipping channel controlled by Iran and close to its coast, while outbound traffic would use a channel near Oman. Iranian officials told the New York Times that no tolls would be charged, but says the agreement includes a quote-unquote service fee to cover environmental impacts, security for cargo ships and tankers, and also staffing costs. They added that the revenue would be shared equally between Iran and Oman. However, a U.S. official says that the Iranian account was quote-unquote not accurate, saying any temporary shipping routes through the strait would not require Iranian approval and would not involve tolls. Some senior Pentagon officials are skeptical of the proposed arrangement, expressing concern that it could amount to a concession to Iran. The New York Times also reported that some Iranian officials questioned whether the agreement would function as intended and prevent another round of U.S. attacks. A seventh round of direct negotiations between Lebanon and Israel began Tuesday in the Italian capital, Rome, under U.S. sponsorship, according to a Lebanese media. Delegations from both sides are taking part in the talks to discuss files related to the implementation of a U.S.-mediated framework agreement signed in June between Beirut and Tel Aviv. Italian news agency ANSA confirms the opening of the talks without providing more details. Rome hosted a sixth round of talks on June 14th, following 5 rounds in Washington, which resulted in the signing of a framework agreement on June 26. The agreement provides for a gradual Israeli withdrawal from all occupied Lebanese territory in return for the deployment of the Lebanese army in those areas and the disarmament of armed groups, a reference to Hezbollah. The talks come amid continued tensions along Lebanon's southern border and ongoing Israeli land clearing, demolition and explosive operations targeting homes and other structures in several southern towns. And in a related development, Hezbollah chief has come forward and accused Lebanon's leadership a traitor after holding multiple direct talks with Israel. Previous similar meetings have proven that these meetings have only been damaging to Lebanon and the rest of the region.
الرئيس لم يعمل كحكم وجامع بل أصبح طرفا ومفرقا وهذا ما لا ينسجم أبدا مع دوره ومع قوته. اليوم نعتبر أن كل المفاوضات المباشرة لم تجلب للبنان إلا العار والذل والخيبة والتنازلات المتتالية.
Naim also states that he has no objection to meeting openly with Syria's leadership. And this is the first time he has expressed such a stance after his Iran-backed group fought Syria's former authorities.
لا يوجد أي مانع من اللقاء العلني بين حزب الله والقيادة السورية في الوقت الذي يكون مناسبا بتقدير الطرفين.
The new Syrian authorities who overthrew longtime ruler Bashar al-Assad are hostile Hezbollah, which for years in support of Assad during the country's civil war erupted in 2011. Neighboring Syria also served as a key supply route to Hezbollah in Lebanon from Iran before the new authorities seized power in Damascus in December 2024. And those new authorities have repeatedly announced arrests of alleged cells affiliated with the group, as well as the seizure of weapons headed for the militants. Hezbollah denies having any presence in Syria. Now, what would transpire out of the direct talks between Israel and Lebanon this time? A temporary ceasefire? And will Syria and Hezbollah be able to work things out to rise above past vendettas to challenge Israel and the US, who are the common denominator of destruction in West Asia? We'll keep you updated. TV Sarawak.my and TVS Inspire. Back to Handy for the rest of tonight's report.
Right, thank you, Yusuf. At least 72 migrants have died crossing into Spain's enclave of Ceuta after 60,000 of them stormed the Moroccan border. But the questions of how tens of thousands of migrants organized the invasion remains, and who may have been interested in letting the floodgates open. RT correspondent Isabella Bloomberg takes a deeper dive into the players involved.
It all happened after the Spanish Supreme Court ruled to scrap instant deportations if migrants crossed the border by sea. But the wave took over the entire city, and Madrid apparently ignored the High Court's decision and forced tens of thousands to leave. Although the official line from the Interior Ministry was they left voluntarily, and the Spanish government insists it holds nothing against Rabat.
Morocco is no threat to Ceuta or the rest of Spain. It is an absolutely reliable partner.
Yet within hours of the crisis breaking, senior Israeli officials had chimed in, and they weren't offering condolences. Some took to social media to lecture Madrid on its colonial enclaves on the African continent.
Spain, which never misses an opportunity to lecture Israel, has declared a state of emergency in Ceuta following the crisis over its immigration policy. Maybe before it continues lecturing us, it's time it explained to the world why it still maintains colonial enclaves in Africa.
But the timing here is not accidental. Remember, Spain recognized Palestinian statehood and has been one of the loudest voices about that in the European Union. And it turns out Israel isn't the only one with scores to settle. Washington has allocated at least $40 million to Morocco in a move Rabat and Congress alike are framing as a recognition that Ceuta and Melilla are Moroccan territory.
The committee notes the historic alliance between the United States and Morocco as formalized in 1786 by the Moroccan-American Treaty of Peace and Friendship. The committee notes that the Spanish-administered cities of Ceuta and Melilla are located in Moroccan territory and remain the subject of Morocco's long-standing claim.
Despite how Washington now frames it, Ceuta has been Spanish since 1580 and sits on the Strait of Gibraltar, one of the world's essential maritime arteries for oil and LNG heading to Europe. But it's just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The real fight with Washington runs even deeper. Back in March, Spain refused the US and Israel use its Rota and Meron military bases for strikes on Iran. And within days, the Trump administration was in a frenzy, threatening to cut Madrid off entirely.
When you have NATO partners denying you the use of those bases, when the primary reason why NATO is good for America is now being denied to us by Spain, as an example, then what's the purpose of the alliance?
And according to Tehran, Spain's non-compliance appears to have been the perfect reason to unleash chaos.
An operation organised by Washington and Tel Aviv, coordinated with certain neighbouring authorities to destabilise Spain, punishment for the country that dared to challenge the American empire and its Israeli henchmen. The empire never tolerate defiance.
But Tehran's accusations, however blunt, didn't come out of nowhere. Washington's threats were just the beginning. A leaked Pentagon email proposed suspending Spain from NATO over base access. By April, Congress had turned its sights on Spanish territory in Africa. And amid the turmoil, an old tweet from the Israeli Prime Minister's son resurfaced. Yair Netanyahu suggested Israel funds NGOs pushing for Ceuta's independence, a direct warning to Spain over Palestine.
Let's make a deal. We won't fund NGOs in your country calling you to give away Ceuta and Melilla. And you will stop funding NGOs in our country that calls us to give away Judea and Samaria.
But where does Morocco fit in all of this? Well, Rabat's ties with Israel and the US are no secret. In exchange for normalizing relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords, Rabat got the US to recognize its claim to Western Sahara. That was followed by a defense pact with Morocco and it being elevated to a major non-NATO ally status this year. And also new plans for joint military work. So while the Moroccan government reaps diplomatic rewards, it's ordinary Moroccans who are caught in the middle, seemingly used as leverage in a geopolitical power play.
We end the Nightline with this. New research by Australia's Deakin University suggests replacing passive sitting activities, such as watching TV, with more mentally engaging ones like reading or knitting, which could reduce the risk of dementia onset in later life. The findings could potentially inform public health guidelines and preventive strategies to reduce dementia.
The study found that mentally active sedentary behaviors, including reading, office work, or knitting, appeared protective, while mentally passive sedentary behaviors such as watching TV, listening to music, or sitting in the bathtub may increase the risk of dementia. Researchers analyzed data from 20,811 adults in Sweden aged 35 to 64 who were followed for 19 years. The baseline survey collected information on sedentary behaviors, physical activity, and other dementia-related behaviors, while national patient and death registers were used to identify dementia cases. The study, published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine, also found there was no need to completely avoid sedentary activities such as watching TV, provided that a person engages in an equal amount of mentally stimulating activity each day.
Get all the updates you need all in one app. TVS Inspire brings you live updates on events, news and programs. Available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. TVS Inspire will on your screen anytime, anywhere. And those were the updates on TVS Nightline. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.
Season 2, yeah. Semua benda dia nak main.
Bang Salute dia akan menjadi kenangan.
Sekarang dah 64. Akan turun. Aku lebih tua.